In this video, we are going to be looking at the 2021 Ducati Street Fighter V4S. Rather than a full-blown review, we would like to present you with some impressions we gleaned from a group test ride organized by Ducati themselves. Ideally, you want to take a machine like the Street Fighter to a racetrack to test the bike to its full potential. But, unfortunately, we had to make do with some rather tedious B-roads. Nevertheless, here are some things we took away from our test ride with the Street Fighter. First off, the suspension is without fault. On the S model, you get electronically controlled Öhlins front and rear. With the standard Street Fighter V4, the non-S model, you get fully adjustable but non-electronic Showa forks and a Sachs shock. The brakes are fantastic, and perhaps a little too good. What we mean by that is that the Street Fighter V4S is a performance machine with performance brakes that are supposed to stop the bike on a dime and that are supposed to give a lot of feedback even when pushed very hard, say on a track. The downside of this is that the brakes can be too powerful and therefore a little snatchy at normal road riding speeds. In other words, it's not easy to be subtle on the brakes on the Street Fighter. The clutch and gearbox work well. During the test ride, we didn't hit any false neutrals, which is an accomplishment in itself for any large capacity Italian motorcycle. Shifting between gears can feel a little clunky, especially when using the clutch lever instead of the quick shifter, but that might have something to do with the extremely torquey drivetrain. The same goes for the throttle response, which can be a little jerky, especially if you're new to the bike. Pulling away from a standstill or getting back on the gas requires a lot of feathering of the clutch to get it just right. First you get nothing, and then, when you give it some more, the bike suddenly lurches forward. So power delivery can be a bit smoother. Whether this is due to bad fueling or Euro 5 restrictions, we can't say. Below 6,000 RPM, the Street Fighter is pretty docile. Push it over 7,000 RPM, and the beast is unleashed, propelling you forward like a bullet from a gun. However, despite being extremely powerful, we never experienced a loss of traction, due to a combination of a very advanced traction control and the fat Pirelli tires. We rode the Street Fighter last year, and then we burned the inside of our legs on the exhaust. This year, that didn't happen. Nevertheless, the heat radiating from the engine and the exhaust was again clearly noticeable, especially when stopped at a red light or when pulling into a gas station. The seating position is relatively comfortable. With your body slightly slanted forward, it forces the rider into a body position that makes you feel very much in control of the bike. The shape of the seat and the position of the pegs also allow you to grip the bike with your legs. This is not always the case with Ducatis. On the Super Sport, and even on the Monster, there's often something protruding from the fairing or from the trellis frame, a bit of plastic poking you in the knees, or something else that prevents you from getting a good grip on the bike. The fabric of the seat on the Street Fighter looks sticky, but it isn't. While riding, we were able to move around without a problem, which is exactly what you need when the riding becomes a little bit more spirited, and you start to shift your weight around on the bike. Perhaps one of the most notable details on the Street Fighter are the winglets on both sides of the radiator. Winglets seem to be very much in fashion nowadays, but other than adding a little attitude to the bike's appearance, we can't see much use for them on a street bike. And then there were some minor flaws we noticed. Some small details that somehow irked us, like the fuel filler cap that didn't close very easily. The optional fly screen we had on our test bike made no discernible difference to wind buffeting. Also, the bar grips felt a little flimsy, with only a thin layer of rubber. Perhaps Ducati was going for a sporty, direct feel with the handlebars. Not sure, but we didn't like how the grips felt. All in all, the Ducati Street Fighter V4S is a formidable bike, an exceptional feat of motorcycle engineering. Do you need a Street Fighter in your life? Probably not. Nobody needs 200 plus horsepower on the road. It won't make riding more fun, nor will it make you a better rider. We think 120, 130 horsepower is more or less the upper limit of what can be considered useful power on the road. So who then would be in the market for a Street Fighter? Well, we can see how this bike would suit a rider who prefers to have just one bike, but still wants to do a couple of track days per year. Of course, by taking the bike to the track, you run the risk of crashing a very expensive bike. We think you really need to love the looks, the sound, or the feeling of the bike to pay for its hefty price tag, and the maintenance costs that come with it. Or perhaps you just want the bragging rights that come with its 207 horsepower. If that's you, and you can spend the kind of money most people spend on a family car, we would say, why not? Go ahead and buy one. You won't be disappointed. Do you own a Street Fighter, or are you thinking of buying one? Let us know in the comments section. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel.